The Kurtzman era of Star Trek has divided fans, but it may not be that there are many fans divided indeed. In reality, it may simply be that, well, nobody really likes the Kurtzman stuff, at least no large demographic. And that's what we are discovering from one individual who has sent us quite a bit of information regarding merchandising sales for the franchise. If you have been hating on the Kurtzman era, well, you may just enjoy this video quite a bit. All right, folks, we are back again here on the WDW Pro channel, one of those rare 3 video days. Those may become more and more as more news keeps breaking all over entertainment. And that's why we're here to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve. If you enjoy content like that, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and stick it to the algorithms when you click it. We're talking about the notification bell. The information we have today comes from an individual who has been collecting a large amount of data over the last 5 years, collecting information about merchandising sales. Now, I would not necessarily call this individual an insider inside the industry, but I would say that they have been very meticulous in tracking the information. I also do not want to give any info about how this individual has been tracking the merchandising. We will be protecting their identity, keeping them anonymous, and we want to protect their methods by which they have been figuring out just what's selling and just what isn't. Now, you might say, Pro, why does it matter about the merchandising side? Why don't we look at streaming ratings? Why don't we look at box office? Why don't we look at other various statistics? And the answer to that is simple. Merchandising matters. We know merchandising matters across a plethora of different franchises. We've seen the Star Wars side of things shrink when it comes to big box retailers like Walmart and Target. We've watched as Mario and Sonic have increased their retail space, and we know that merchandising is a great reflection of how popular something is. The more space that is given over a longer period of time, the more likely it is that the best industry analysts have realized it's going to sell. When it comes to Star Trek, though, things have been on the decline, but not equally. Not every part of the franchise is in decline when it comes to merchandise. So let's dive into what this individual has sent us. First off, they talk about the Hallmark line of ornaments. That's right, this gets quite a bit into the weeds. And what they've discovered is that for the Hallmark ornaments, once the Hallmark collectors at large, that we're talking about people who just collect the ornaments and therefore will buy anything, once they have done their collections, the drop-off is very significant for Star Trek, but not equally again. The first 2 iterations of Star Trek have the vast amount of ornaments that are being used, sold, collected, transferred, etc. And when you get to the new stuff, for let's say the Picard series, there's essentially nothing going on there. None of the Kurtzman stuff is picking up at all. And then if we go into costumes, that is people who want to dress up as their favorite Star Trek character, what we find is that despite there being very little in terms of original Star Trek and Enterprise Star Trek costumes available, people are actually making their own rather than going with the new stuff. But perhaps the biggest thing this individual sends is information about physical media. And essentially what they say here is that you would be shocked to know that in terms of physical media, the oldest Star Trek stuff is still the stuff that sells in terms of Blu-rays, DVDs, etc. Now, why is that odd? Well, looking through the data that they have collected, I can tell you that it's extremely odd because we're talking about material that has been out there the longest, and therefore, most people should already have this who want it. And yet it still outsells anything that has come as of late. We're even referring to the J.J. Abrams movies. They're even outsold. The Bad Robot stuff just cannot compete with those original Star Trek series, the stuff from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now, they go into more detail, talking about autographs, and they go through the toys and all those sorts of things, even going into details about the Playmates company and how they've tried to get back into the game with Star Trek. And when they did, they came back with the original characters simply because the new stuff isn't connecting. Now, we've been sitting on some of this data, and this data goes into great length. I mean, it's highly detailed, but I want to hold the details away right now. I don't want to do anything that could get this individual in trouble, and I don't know exactly who all would have access to this data. But I do want to show you that if we go to some websites, we can see the same stuff is appearing, and it sort of verifies what this individual has said. This out of Fansided.com. New Star Trek action figures and Hallmark ornaments coming soon. This by Chad Porto from 3 weeks ago. It says Star Trek fans will soon be able to add their growing collections of Playmates action figures, Hallmark ornaments, and more. With us now knee-deep in spring, it is as good of a time as ever to get started or get ready for things like Christmas. Hallmark agrees as they've released a few new ornament collectibles due out in October. And if we go down, we can see that it's essentially all older stuff. It's none of the new stuff, basically. Now, are there some bits and pieces of newer stuff? Sure. But by and large, these are all the characters that we've had for decades and decades, and in the form that we had them originally, not in their newer incarnations. Now, you might say, well, that's just one source, so perhaps that's just, an anomaly. Well, if we go here to Ars Technica, this out just today. Dealmaster, discounts on Star Trek gear, laptops, and more. And if we go down into this list of deals that are current, right? Companies pushing on Amazon these Star Trek merchandising items, what do we see? Star Trek USS Enterprise replica, futuristic hover pen, Star Trek collectible duck vinyl figure, 21-inch USS Enterprise ship, Star Trek The Next Generation Bluetooth communicator, Star Trek book, new, Spock ears, Star Trek captains, Picard, the art and making of the series. Okay, well, there's one, but it's one. So much of this is all based on older Star Trek material. And that just seems to go to what is pertinent. Because all of this stuff, these are the things that they're trying to push. This is the stuff that they have in inventory and they want to move it. And it again verifies that when it comes to merchandise, Trek fans are interested in old Trek, not new Trek. Now, what does that mean in terms of where this franchise goes? Well, clearly, Kurtzman is going to continue on with this franchise to whatever degree that he can. But in terms of the long-term projections, it seems almost impossible that this franchise could continue to follow that model that has come about rather than going back to that which worked. It just seems that there's no market for this new type of Star Trek. And to go back to the classic, whatever that means, whatever it means to replicate that, whatever the secret sauce is, it seems that there's no way around doing that, because where there's no money, there's no continuation. The money is to be found, it seems, the money and the interest in the original classic Star Treks, in the Star Treks that existed for decades, which were quite different than the Star Trek of today. Now, folks, I know that this is a little bit different content than we usually carry, but we've been sitting on this for a while. This was sent in by someone who had a huge amount of data, and we really wanted to cover it, really wanted to bring it to you. We're also juggling the fact that we need to keep some of this stuff private, and so I wish I could bring you the exact data that they have, but we do need to protect the source. And I surmise that this probably is right in line with what many of you believe to be true already. But it's yet one more point in a number of points that all say Star Trek needs to go back to its roots. And there, I think it will find success. This is also a short video today, simply because we're doing 3 videos today, and surely you can't handle too much more of me. But I sure am glad that you stopped by, that you clicked this video, and that you're interested in entertainment. Entertainment is that which we all sit around and wait to go see, and therefore that makes it surely important. Well, folks, if you like content like this, click the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms when you click the notification bell. Drop a comment down below and let me know what you think. Are merchandise sales worthy of indicating to us the popularity of a brand? And does it make sense that despite Star Trek's struggles, let's say, outside of this new Picard season, that the brand still remains strong in merchandising for the old, classic, vintage Star Trek? Let me know what your thoughts are. And folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Make sure to catch The Pro Show Thursdays 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Entertainment Explained, The Culture Curve Conquered, live with Pro and all his friends.